Hi guys, back again. Football Heaven 24/7. I'm your host Jamie Carter. What I'm going to do, I'm a massive Forest fan, but my other love in football is Scunthorpe United. I've been watching them since I was a very young lad. I'd probably go back to when I was like 10 years old. My father took me to a game. Actually, I may have been 11, sorry, 9 even. But I remember going to a game with my dad, and we were playing. It was Scunthorpe United against Rochdale. Scunthorpe won 6-2. A guy called Andy Flounder scored 4 goals. Now, I didn't know when I was that age about Scunthorpe's history that Scunthorpe used to play in Division 2, which is now the Championship. Now, obviously, since that time was in the 60s, but that since that time, Scunthorpe did play in the Premiership, in the Championship, or what was known as Division 2 years ago. They played in the second level of football, of professional football in England, in 2009-10 season, and they stayed up. But unfortunately, were relegated in 2010-11 season after Nigel Atkins, who was a great manager for them, ended up going to Southampton, which obviously is a bigger club. You can't blame him. He could make more money there. So he went there. Scunthorpe had a couple of seasons in the Championship. They had also had one season where they were in the Championship and got relegated in 2007 and 8 season. So they've had 3 seasons in the Championship, which was the old Division 2, in this century. But going back into the 20th century, looking at it, and as I say, in the 60s, Scunthorpe were massive. Were quite good. They were in the second division team. I wouldn't say they were massive. That was a bit of an exaggeration, but they were certainly a good team. And one season in particular, the greatest season they ever had, was finishing fourth in Division 2. Now, looking at that season, a team that would go on to become, one of the greatest ever until Manchester United surpassed them a little bit in the last sort of 20 odd years, 30 years, was Liverpool. Liverpool, actually, a lot of people don't know, apart from maybe older Liverpool fans, that Liverpool used to play in the second division. You know, you look at Liverpool and all the years that they've been in the Premiership or Division 1, the top flight, people forget that they were in the second division years ago. So going back to 61-62 season, at the start of the season, there wasn't much expectation for Scunthorpe. Well, there was a little bit of an expectation, but not too much. Scunthorpe had finished in ninth position the season before, in 60-61, and Ipswich Town had won the league. But going into the 61-62 season, Scunthorpe had a player called Barry Thomas. He was a great. Ended up being a great player. He scored 35 goals. Now, halfway through this season, he ended up going to Newcastle United. Now, it's argued that had he have not gone to Newcastle United, that Scunthorpe would have gone on and got automatic promotion. Back in those days, it was the top three would go up from Division 2 into Division 1, which is obviously now the Premiership. But ultimately, at the end of the season, Scunthorpe missed out by 4 points. But if you go through their scores and stuff, they were up against some great teams. Like I say, Liverpool was playing in that league at the time. Southampton, that's a Premiership team now, was playing in that league at the time. You had the likes of Middlesbrough, Norwich City, who've been up and down in the Premiership. You had Leeds United in that league at the time in 61-62 season. There was a lot of massive teams that were playing in that season. So looking at Scunthorpe's record for how it ended at the end of the season, well, their home record was fantastic. They won 14 games at home. They drew 4 and they lost 3. They scored 52 goals and let in 26 goals. Away record wasn't as good, but not too bad. They won 7, drew 3, lost 11. They had 34 goals for and 45 against. They ended up with 49 points because back in those days, a win was 2 points and a draw was 1 point, unlike today where it's 3 points and 1 point, 3 points for a win and 1 point for a draw. So, as I say, Scunthorpe only missed out on getting into automatic promotion places by 4 points. The teams that finished top was obviously Liverpool finished the champions, Leyton Orient finished second. Leyton Orient would go up that season, obviously, and it would be their only season in the top flight in Division 1. Sunderland finished third, and obviously we know Sunderland have been in the top flight a number of times. And Scunthorpe, as I say, their best season ever, they finished fourth. So I'm going to run through some of the games that Scunthorpe played that season in the greatest season that they ever had, finishing fourth in what's now the Championship, but back then Division 2. So their home record was really good. They got 3-3 draw against Brighton, 2-1 win against Bristol Rovers, They won 6-1 at home to Charlton Athletic, beat Derby County 2-0, beat Leeds United, the mighty Leeds United, who would become mighty even like 10 years later under Don Revie, would be like the best team in the country at that time, 10 years from this particular time. But Scunthorpe actually beat them 2-1 on February the 20th, 1962. Like I say, 2-1 win. They lost 2-0 against Leyton Orient, who went up, and they had a fantastic draw against Liverpool, who obviously became the champions. That was on January the 20th, 1962. So they've done some great things in that season. Beat Luton 2-0. They beat Newcastle United 3-2 on October the 27th of 1961. Also, they beat Norwich 2-0. They beat Plymouth Argyle 5-1 at home. They beat Rotherham 5-2. Beat Southampton 5-1. Southampton 5-1. They beat Sunderland 3-1. So they had some fantastic results. It's hard to believe a team that's now playing in the conference, in 2022, beat the likes of those teams going back, 60 years. So insane to think. Going into the away record, looking at some of the games that might have stood out away from home. Brighton, obviously, now they're a Premier League team, an established Premier League team, but Scunthorpe won 3-0 away at Brighton on December the 16th. Going further down, looking at some of the away wins, they won 2-1 at Huddersfield. Even crazier, they won 4-1 away at Leeds United on Boxing Day, December the 26th, Boxing Day 1961. So, 4-1 Scunthorpe away at Leeds, absolutely crazy. You just wouldn't even see that now. They won 2-1 away at Luton. They won 2-1 away at Middlesbrough, even, on top of that. 1-0 away against Rotherham. So some key, really, really, really key moments in what was a fantastic season. Barry Thomas was there, top goal scorer. As I say, they've done brilliantly. Obviously, Liverpool finished top, Leyton Orient second, Sunderland third, Scunthorpe in fourth, but had some really, really great games in that season. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump from season to season. So we're going to go from Scunthorpe's greatest season, which, as I say, was fourth, 61-62. We're going to go to my other team, Forest's greatest season. The only season that they ever won Division 1 title, which is obviously now Premiership. And we're skipping on to 77-78 season, which was, obviously, Brian Clough had been in charge for the last couple of seasons at Forest. Before he took them over, they were bottom of the table, sort of bottom half of the table, second division team. Now, he'd taken them over. They got promoted, but they were the only team, and they still are the only team to get promoted as a Division 2 promoted team and win the league in the first season. So, looking at Forest that season, their home record, they won 15 at home, they drew 6, and they lost none at home all that season. Obviously, at this time, like I say, same as Scunthorpe's 61-62 season, they were, it was 2 points for a win and 1 for a draw. They scored 37 goals at home and only let in 8 goals all season in their home form. Their away form was equally quite impressive as well. They won 10, drew 8, lost 3. They scored 32 goals and let in 16. Ended up with 64 points. They ended up 7 points clear of Liverpool, who had dominated English football in the 70s coming up to that particular point. So, remarkable feat. I would say it's arguably the second greatest feat that's ever happened in English football. I think Leicester City, because Leicester City, they came up as they stayed up the season before. Obviously, they were 5,000 to 1 favourites to win the title. Obviously, they won it in 2015-16. But arguably, I would say Forest's achievement is better from the point of view that only going back a couple of seasons, they'd finished in 13th or 14th. And they jumped from that to getting promoted and finishing actually only just scraping into the third promotion spot in Division 2 in the 76-77 season to get their place in Division 1. And then to do that and just to scrape it in the last sort of few games and then find themselves as the Division 1 champions and the champions of England, as the greatest team in England at the end halfway through 1978. And then obviously they go on and win 2 European Cups. Now, nothing's ever beaten that. Nothing's ever surpassed that. Yes, Ferguson in 98-99 had a treble-winning season, obviously winning the Premiership, the FA Cup and the Champions League, which other people said that was great. But Manchester United were an established team. They'd had a chance to build that team. You go back to Brian Clough's achievements, absolutely stunning to win. Like I say, win that. And then when you look through the season, the key results, you've got to remember this team had been in Division 2 for a long, long time, this Forest team, when they took over. But they had great wins at home, to 2-0 at home to Arsenal. They won 2-0 at home to Aston Villa. Going through the scores, beat Leeds United, beat Ipswich Town 4-0. They beat Leicester City 1-0. They absolutely smashed Middlesbrough 4-0. 2 wins against both Manchester clubs at home. Beat Newcastle 2-0. Beat West Ham 2-0. Beat Wolves 2-0. Going for the away games, even a great win 1-0 away at Aston Villa. They won 2-0 away at Birmingham City. 3-1 away against Bristol City. 3-1 at Everton, Everton not long before that had been champions of the First Division. It won 2-0 away at Ipswich Town. Done the double over Leicester that season. Won 3-0 away at Leicester. Drew 0-0 at Anfield at Liverpool. 0-0 at Manchester City's ground. They won 4-0 away at Manchester United. And I think that was the key game in that season, the 1977-78 season, arguably Forest's greatest season, just because it's the only time they've ever won the Division 1 title. You're looking at that, and that 4-0 win against Man United, that's when a lot of the players started to say, I mean, that game was on around Christmas time, I believe. Yeah, it was on December the 17th, about a week or so before Christmas. I think that's when a lot of the players, from what I've seen on videos, they started to believe that they were going to do something special that season. And going back then, I mean, I didn't live then. I was born in 1980, but heard a lot of things that a lot of the people that were on Match of the Day at the time, they didn't give Forest the plaudits and the credit that they deserved for how great that achievement was. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, they're going to crumble, they're going to fade away." Natural thing. Pundits always make the predictions. They get it wrong quite a lot. Unfortunately, at the moment, in today's football world, it's been dominated mainly by Manchester City and Liverpool over the last sort of 4 or 5 seasons. 4 seasons, should I say. But hopefully some other teams are coming through. It was nice to see Brighton coming up more recently in this 22-23 season. But I feel they'll fade away now that their manager, Graham Potter's gone to Chelsea on a 5-year contract. But yeah, the 2 great seasons for the 2 clubs that I love. I can do it for all the other teams that are out there. In fact, I'm going to have a little look through at some of the titles that were won. I think it's important for me to mention another Midlands rival of Forest's, who they'd not won the title very much, but going into the Liverpool dominated much of the 70s, but coming into the 80s, the 1980-81 season, a team that had finished in the previous season had finished in 7th place. They came through and they won the title. Aston Villa won the title in the 1980-81 season, arguably their greatest season that they ever had as well. Notable wins for them was winning 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough, smashing Sunderland 4-0. They beat Birmingham City 3-0, local rivals as well. Beat Liverpool 2-0. Beat Manchester City 1-0. Had some great wins. Going on the away games, they did a league double over Birmingham City, winning 2-1. They won 4-2 away at other Midlands rivals, Leicester City. They had great draws away at Manchester City 2-2 and Manchester United 3-0. Great victories against other teams, Sunderland 2-1 away, and Southampton. So, I mean, their league record for that season, 1980-81 season for Aston Villa, they finished with 16 wins, 3 draws, 2 defeats. They got 40 goals for at home and 13 against. Their away record was 10 league wins, 5 draws and 6 league defeats. They had 32 goals for on the away form and 27 against. They finished top with 60 points. In second place was Ipswich Town, 4 points behind them. So a great season for Aston Villa there in the 1980-81 season. Going through the next 3 seasons after that, Liverpool would dominate the league situation. And then you go into 2 of Everton's. Everton have not had loads and loads of league titles, but they did break the form a bit in the 1980s. Where Liverpool were mainly dominating. Aston Villa, as I say, they got a goal at the start. They won a title at the start of the 1980s, but Liverpool then won the next 3 seasons. But going into the 84-85 season, Everton didn't pit their rivals. They absolutely smashed their way to the Championship. It was now 3 points for a win and 1 for a draw. Everton finished top with 90 points in the 84-85 season. Liverpool finished second with 77 points, and Spurs finished third with 77 points. So obviously only separated from Liverpool on goal difference. Notable wins for Everton that season was 2-0 against Arsenal. They also won 3-0 against Leicester City, beat Liverpool, the local rivals, 1-0. Absolutely smashed Manchester United 5-0, smashed Newcastle 4-0, smashed Nottingham Forest 5-0, smashed Stoke City 4-0, 4-0 wins against Everton and against the West Bromwich Albion, and 3-0 against West Ham at home, all those teams at home. And then going in the away form, looking at some of the good wins that they had, they won 2-1 away at Leicester City, they won 3-2 away at Newcastle, 2-1 at Southampton, 5-4 in a crazy game away at Watford, who had a good season. But that was Everton. Graham Sharp was the key player for them back then. He scored 21 times in that Championship winning side. The following season, the 85-86 season, Liverpool then won the title again. So Liverpool were racking up a lot of wins. As I say, going back to the start of this episode, talking about Scunthorpe's greatest season, like Liverpool, as soon as they got promoted in the 62-63 season, 61-62 season, they ended up going on to become one of the greatest, probably the greatest, if not the equal greatest, with Manchester United, English team in history. So just from that period, from the early 60s till the present day, you can see how much a team can dominate if they're given the right backing and the right, and the right support. So, so Everton, like I say, they lost the title in the 85-86 season back to Liverpool. In the 86-87 season, Everton won the title again. They had 16 wins at home, 4 draws, 1 defeat. They scored 49 goals and let in only 11. Their away record was 10 wins, 4 draws and 7 league defeats. And they had 27 goals for and 20 against. So they finished top with 86 points, miles clear of Everton with Liverpool with 9 points. Very, very great season for Everton. So 2 titles for Everton over a 3-season period in the middle of the 80s. Liverpool then in the 87-88 season took over again as champions. Then Arsenal snatched in probably one of the greatest, most dramatic ends to a season, bar the 2011-12 season between Manchester United and Manchester City. This was arguably one of the greatest seasons, definitely in the Division 1 history. One of the most nervous ends to a season. Now, it was Arsenal against Liverpool. They were going into it. They had to play. There'd been a fixture pile-up, and Arsenal had to play Liverpool away in 1989. The fixture was played on May the 26th. Arsenal went into the game knowing that they had to win by 2 clear goals to snatch the title off Liverpool. Now, Liverpool were the favourites, having already won the title the previous season, and dominating most of the 80s, bar 3 seasons where they'd lost out to Aston Villa and Everton twice. But Liverpool were the favourites. But on the night, Arsenal pulled off a shock, won 2-0, and they won the title, and they had a great season. Goal from Michael Thomas sealed it. That was the goal that allowed Arsenal to finish the 80s as the champions. So I've gone on a tangent. We talked about the best season, obviously, for Scunthorpe United, one of my teams, and Nottingham Forest, my other team, their best seasons, and also briefly just going through some of the 80s and what happened in the 80s. Thank you for watching this episode. It's a mishmash of things, but I like to mix up a bit, give a bit more information to some of the younger fans out there, and also remind some of the older fans about some of the good teams and the seasons that went by. So thank you for tuning in to Football Heaven 24/7. There'll be more episodes to go. If anyone has any ideas of anything that they would like me to talk about, just let me know in the comments section. Continue to like and subscribe, and I'll continue to do great reviews of seasons of the past for many teams and the greatest seasons for those teams, whatever divisions they're in. Have a great week. All the best. Bye for now.